A trembling 73-year-old man walked into a hospital, guiding a frail young woman at his side. At first, staff assumed she was his daughter, but the longer they looked, the colder the room felt. Her skin had the color of candle wax. Her face carried a kind of exhaustion no teenager should ever wear. And when the paperwork began, the story collapsed even further. She wasn't his daughter. She was his granddaughter. And she was only 19. That single detail hit the doctors like a shockwave, because what they were seeing didn't match life outside. It looked like someone had been erased from sunlight, from care, from the world itself. And as the hospital kept asking simple questions, name, history, Famela, something terrifying became clear. These here didn't exist on record, not the way a normal person does. And when the man beside her dodged questions, giving half answers and nervous excuses, the staff did what they had to do. They called the police, because the truth was hiding behind a locked door somewhere, and it was about to break open. Years earlier, in a quiet Austrian town, a man named Joseph built an image that looked respectable from the outside family. Routine, normal life. He was known as a skilled worker, a man people recognized. But behind that normal face was a history that should have been a warning. There had been serious crimes in his past. A pattern, a darkness that didn't disappear it, only learned how to hide better. At home, one of his children, Elizabeth, grew up under control and fear. Arguments weren't just arguments. Discipline wasn't just discipline. The house didn't feel like a home. As she became a teenager, she tried to escape. For a brief moment, she thought she could start over somewhere else, but she was brought back. And when she returned, he knew he was losing control. That's when the basement became his plan. For years, he had been building something underground, telling his family it was a practical project and emergency shelter, a workspace, something harmless. But it wasn't a shelter. It was a trap. One day, he lured Elizabeth downstairs with a simple lie: help me carry something. Help me secure a door. And in a moment that would steal decades of her life, the door closed. Not just physically. It closed her off from the world. What followed was a long, hidden captivities, marked by isolation, fear, and cruelty. She lived behind concealed entrances and locked barriers, in a space designed to keep a human being invisible. Above ground, he reported her missing, and he shaped a story that sounded believable enough. She ran away. She left by choice. Don't search too hard. A letter appeared written in her name warning the family not to look for her. And that was the lie that ended the search. The case went quiet, and for years, the world moved on, while a life was being kept underground. Time passed in a place where days blur together. In that hidden space, Elizabeth fought to survive, not just for herself, but for the children who were born there. Some children were later brought upstairs and raised in the house under a manufactured story left at the door, abandoned, with letters that explained it away. To outsiders, it looked strange, but not strange enough for anyone to tear the house apart. There were signs, later remembered with guilt-odd routines, the basement being off limits, noises at night explained away, warnings not to interrupt his work. People heard things, people questioned things, but nobody pushed far enough. Until one April day in 2008, when one of the underground children became critically ill, and that illness forced the secret into daylight. The 73-year-old man arrived at the hospital with the girl, acting anxious and defensive. Doctors examined her and immediately saw she was in dangerous condition, serious medical problems. That didn't happen overnight. They asked for records. There were none. They asked for the mother. He resisted. They asked again. He avoided. And with every refusal, suspicion grew heavier. Police made a public appeal for Elizabeth's missing daughter from years ago to come forward and help explain that girl's medical history. Suddenly, a cold case reopened. A story that had been accepted for decades was questioned for the first time. Days later, Elizabeth was brought to the hospital, and when authorities separated her from the man, they saw it in her eyes fear that wasn't new, fear that had been practiced for years. At first, she barely spoke. Then she made one request, simple, human, heartbreaking. I never want to see him again. When police agreed, The truth finally came out. She described the hidden rooms, the locks, the years, the control, the threats, the isolation, the life forced into a space never meant for living. Officers went to the home. They demanded codes. They searched the basement, and behind what looked like ordinary walls, they found the prison. That night, Joseph was arrested. And soon after, evidence confirmed what the story had already made unbearable. The children were connected to him, and the underground captivity was real. In court, the mask of normal collapsed completely. He was convicted. A man who had hidden a second life beneath his own home while the world above assumed the missing girl had simply chosen to disappear. After the trial, Elizabeth and her children were protected, given privacy, and the chance to rebuild a life that had been stolen. But freedom doesn't erase time. It only begins the long work of healing. And the most chilling part of this case isn't just what one man did. It's how long it lasted. In a neighborhood, in a family home, with people nearby, while a locked door kept the truth silent.